What about travel films would you change that are popular nowadays? What is something that you see? And I know we just talked about how art is subjective, but what do you see that you would change about the current state of travel films?
Interesting you asked me that question in the middle of a pandemic, because currently I'd be happy to see any travel films.
Yeah, it's so true.
But in general, with travel films, the filmmaker needs to decide if they're making a film about the place or about themselves, I think. And because there's making a film about your vacation, which is totally fine. You know, you can make a vacation video, and that's fine, and that's awesome, and some of them are really entertaining. But sometimes I feel like people, they try to have it both ways, where it's a film all about them, but it's also a film about the place that they went to and the culture that they stopped by and visited for a few days. But they have this sort of, I don't know, there's like a feeling that they think they're getting way deeper and way truer into that culture than what actually comes out in the video. And it comes across, at best, just a little bit
self-righteous.
I don't know, a little bit fake. Yeah. So that's one thing. And the other thing, the main problem with almost any travel film is just that there isn't really a story.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of shots, and usually there's like a bunch of like killer shots in the beginning, like really awesome drone shots and like some really sick transition, like, you know, some stuff the filmmaker put a whole bunch of work into in like the first 30 seconds of the film.
So guilty.
And then by around a minute or a minute 30, everything starts repeating itself.
Yeah.
They start repeating the same kinds of shots. They start repeating the same kinds of subjects. You see the same transition over and over. You hear the same sound effect over and over. And that's because the filmmaker ran out of ideas, basically. They ran out of variety because there was no real story happening. There was nothing developing. So we see a whole film that's just establishing shots, and it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere.
Just a bunch of
It
B-roll.
becomes, you know, video wallpaper.
Yeah, that's honestly the most valuable thing that I learned from taking your course, and specifically the improvised storytelling section, is how to create really solid stories solely through visuals without planning anything. Because travel films, generally, you don't go into it saying, okay, I know that I'm going to shoot this guy on this day, and I know that this is going to be the script, or he's going to say this. It's kind of just, we're running, gunning, and shooting, and it's tough to compile that into something that is cohesive. But so thank you for creating that section of your course, because it's so solid. And I agree that nowadays that's hard to put together in a travel film. I'm definitely guilty of it.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, most of us, when we travel, we're on vacation, right? And when you're on vacation, ideally nothing super dramatic happens. Otherwise, something happened that went wrong with your vacation. So our vacations usually don't have compelling stories, and that's by design, because vacations are supposed to be non-eventful. I mean, for most people, they're supposed to be relaxation.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be just indulgence. And that kind of stuff, that kind of touristic travel, usually doesn't make for a very good film, because we go to films expecting some kind of a plot. Even a vlog, you know, somebody vlogs about their vacation. It's more interesting if something goes wrong on that vacation, or if they have to improvise because the plans didn't go the way that they thought they would. Those things make stories interesting. And if you watch a film critically and you think about what emotions am I actually seeing in this film, what kinds of things are happening to my hero, films are mostly about human suffering, like really, really deep suffering, the kind that almost never occurs, hopefully never occurs, on your vacation.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, right? So we have to figure out what goes there instead of all this conflict that we're used to seeing in dramas. And if you're shooting a vlog, that's different than what I'm talking about here. If you're shooting a vlog, you could just go from point A to point B to point C and just do a bunch of cool stuff and have a bunch of fun, and people will love it, and you can get 1 million views on a vlog. So that's not what I'm really talking about. I'm talking about like the kinds of travel films that I make where it at least it aspires to be some form of like short film unto itself.
Yeah, like a cultural film. Calling your films a travel film, profile. I think, is not a great term. Yeah, cultural profile, I think is great.
It's hard to make that differentiation, because I know that most people, when they watch like my video, or they watch video by someone else who calls them a travel filmmaker, most audiences, they don't really see a huge difference between different styles of travel filmmaking. I see it because I'm really close to it all the time, and that's what I do professionally, I guess. But so anyway, I just wanted to make that little bit of a differentiation, that like if you're making a vlog, you don't need all this drama necessarily, although drama still makes it more interesting. But if you're making a travel cultural film, you're profiling a culture, you need to find the drama in that culture, not just the pretty sights, not just the awesome slow motion killer money shots
Yeah.
in 240p, because that's the stuff that you watch on the Sony Bravia demo, 8K screen at Best Buy when you're going shopping for electronics, and it keeps your attention for about 45 seconds, long enough for the salesman to come up to you and start hard selling you on that TV. But that's not the kind of stuff that you are going to sit down and watch for an extended period of time to have like a rewarding cinematic experience. To keep the audience really interested in what's going on in the film as opposed to just the way it looks, you have to have something going on under the surface. You have to have a story developing.
Yeah. And
developing that story without falling into a traditional documentary or narrative framework is really tricky. And that's what I try to teach in the film school.